Hola bellas, welcome back to Gypsy in the City TV. This video is actually the second part to a video series that I did on traveling. The Gypsy in me has traveled and seen many places all over the world. I think I've been to a little over 11 countries. I want to say 15 if you count the islands. And a lot of you guys had questions in regards to travel and how I'm able to travel at such a young age. I figured the best way to answer all of your questions was to do a question and answer video on my channel. And so I asked you all to send me your questions to Snapchat and Instagram. Of course, the video was very long, so I decided to split it into two parts. Make sure that you watch part one if you haven't watched, and I hope that you enjoy this video. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, the next question is from Yesenia. Hey girl, and she says, I'm planning on going to Greece next year over the summer. Have you been? When is the perfect time to go to Europe? I'm trying to go and find good deals. So yes, I've been to Greece. I've been to Corfu and I've been to Thessaloniki. My friend EBATES actually studied abroad for 3 months in Thessaloniki, so when we were planning our trip, I knew for sure that I wanted to go to Greece. She knew for sure that she wanted to go back to Greece. Originally, of course, we wanted to go to Mykonos, we wanted to go to Santorini, you know, like the main cities that Greece is known for, but when we started calculating things, it just did not fit into our budget. And so Yvette mentioned that she lived in Thessaloniki for 3 months and that she absolutely loved it there. She knew the city well, and so she actually was the one that suggested that we try to go to other lesser known cities in Greece so that we can save money but still experience the culture there. So we ended up going to Corfu and we ended up going to Thessaloniki. I absolutely love Thessaloniki. Like, we had so much fun. Where we stayed at a hotel there that was really close to like kind of where everything was going on, and it reminded me of Miami a little bit. Like, you know how South Beach you have like that whole strip of like bars and nightclubs and restaurants, and then there's like the beautiful beach and everything. Thessaloniki was really similar to that. Well, the area that we stayed in anyways, it was like miles and miles of bars and beaches and nightclubs, and then this beautiful bay and marina, and they even had these boats where you can get on and like have a beer and listen to music, and it will sail around the harbor and come back. So I absolutely loved Thessaloniki. The beaches there were absolutely beautiful. We ended up taking public transportation to go to Halkidiki, or Halkidiki, I can't remember how to pronounce it, and that's where the beautiful beaches were, and we had such an amazing time. Went to Corfu as well, and we spent a little bit more money in Corfu because everything was just so far away. To go to these beautiful beaches that had caves. Airbnb that we were staying at was actually on the opposite, but the Airbnb that we were staying at was actually on the opposite side of the island, and it would have been too far and too expensive for us to like rent a car or pay for a driver to take us there. So we ended up going to the beaches there that were nice, but they were not as nice as the beaches that we thought we were going to, just because they were far away. So that's where I went to in Greece. And you know, if you want to go to Greece and you want to experience Greece, but you don't have this crazy budget to ball out in Santorini or ball out in Mykonos, which are the really touristy cities, then I definitely recommend for you to venture out and go to Thessaloniki, go to Corfu, do your research and look up the other cities in Greece, because Greece is an absolutely beautiful country. The people are amazing. The food is absolutely delicious. Oh my god, like Greek salad, like you've never had a Greek salad until you've had one in Greece. So for those of you that are thinking about going to Greece, I definitely recommend to do your research and look at the other cities, not just the very touristy ones that most people are used to hearing about when they think of Greece. For me personally, I think the perfect time to go to Europe is sometime in the spring, right before the summertime. Our Euro trip was at the end of June, beginning of July. We had an amazing time. The weather was just perfect. I think the only place that we went to that the weather kind of sucked was Paris, and it was kind of like raining and smoggy there. But the other places that we went to during that time was great. We went right before the peak season, which is in the summer, of course. So I think for Europe, if you go either right before peak season or right after is good. It really depends what you're trying to do. Like, if you're trying to enjoy the beaches and get a tan and do all that kind of stuff, then I definitely recommend going like sometime in June, right before the peak season in the summer. But if you really don't care and you're just trying to save money and you know, you don't really care for the beaches, then go during the off season in November or something like that. So the next questions are from Miss VG. She had a couple of questions. So she says, What are some tips on saving money for a trip, which I already covered? Who do you usually travel with when you go on trips? So when I go on trips, it really depends. Like I said, some of the trips I've gone to were for work, so on that obviously I'm going alone, but I'm meeting up with my coworkers there or getting to know people that I work with there. And then the other trips that I've done have been with friends. So when it comes to planning trips with friends, there's a lot I can say about that. That trip that I wanted to do in Europe, I was gonna go by myself or with friends. I didn't care. Like, I really didn't care at that point. So I just told a couple of my friends that I was going to Europe and that, you know, I was planning this trip. Yvette was totally down to the point that she actually planned the trip with me and we paid for everything. And then my friend Aisha came on board at last minute. When you're planning a trip, beware that you're going to talk about it and a lot of your friends are going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going. And they're going to talk and say that they're all going. At the end of the day, it all comes down to, okay, we're about to book this flight. Where's your money? Are you really coming? That's really what it comes down to. Not be afraid of booking a trip by yourself if that's what it comes down to, because none of your friends can't afford to go, or they keep saying that they can't afford to go, but yet they're spending all this money at the club on the weekends. They're buying the latest handbag or dropping all their dollars at Sephora. Like, no. If you really want to go somewhere, then don't be afraid of going by yourself, or don't be afraid of going with people that are not your best friends. If there's an acquaintance that you have and you kind of know them well and they're really down on going on this trip with you and they have the funds for it and they're being very proactive about going on this trip with you, then go with them. Like, you don't necessarily have to travel with your best friend. You don't have to necessarily travel with family. At this point, just travel with whoever has the funds to be able to do it and who you think you're gonna get along with on your trip as well. Don't let other people hold you back from traveling just because they can't afford to, because if they really wanted to go, they would make the sacrifices just like you're making the sacrifices to not go out and spend this money on the weekends because you're saving it to travel. Then she asks, does it get expensive when you are on the trip? It depends. If you budget yourself accordingly, then you should be good. Like I said, on those longer trips that I've planned where I'm going to multiple countries, I'm making sure that I'm saving up months and months in advance so that I can have enough money while I'm there. And you also want to save up a little bit extra because you want to leave some money here just in case of emergency, number one. And number two, there's nothing worse than going on an international trip and coming back home and you're super duper broke. So I definitely recommend saving up as much money as you can so that you can have money to spend while you're there, but also making sure that you leave some money behind so that when you get back from this trip, you're not super broke, because that sucks. Do you take public transportation when on a trip, or do you rent a car? Most of the trips that I've done, I've taken public transportation. I've never rented a car in another country at all. I really do my research to make sure that wherever I'm staying at, there's some type of transportation nearby. The only time I've really dealt with like cars is like when we were in Corfu, and in that country you need a car to go everywhere. There's really not that much public transportation. So the Airbnb that we were staying at, they actually have like a preferred driver that they work with, so we ended up working with them to book this driver to pick us up from the airport, and he also took us back to the airport. We also paid him to take us to the beach because the beach was a little far. So that was really the only time that I kind of had to deal with a car type of thing, but other than that, most of the places that I've gone to, I've used public transportation or just taken a taxi or something. Ms. VG has a lot of questions, by the way, so I'm just gonna keep reading all of them. What makeup do you like to pack? Usually when I go away, I don't like to take like crazy amounts of makeup. I just kind of stick with the basics, to like, you know, like a BB cream, foundation for nighttime, lots of bronzer, because as soon as I start tanning, all I really kind of do is concealer, bronzer, highlight, and lip gloss or a lipstick. That is kind of like my go-to look when I travel. You'll notice that the more you travel, the less you really need to take. You kind of really start figuring out exactly what you need and what you don't need. For me, when I travel, I just kind of stick to the basics, and I bring lots of lipsticks to switch it up, and maybe like one pair of eyelashes if I want to be, you know, dramatic. But I'm really not doing like a full face every single day that I'm in another country. Like, I'm trying to have fun. I'm not trying to waste an entire hour beating my face. It really depends on where you're going and how long you're going for. But for example, my trip in Europe was like very scattered. Like, you know, when we were going out to dinner, I will definitely beat my face, but then the next day when we were just kind of exploring, I will stick to simple makeup. So like bronzers, lipsticks, highlights, light foundation, those are kind of things that I usually like to pack when I go abroad. Where do I get my outfits for my trips? Definitely in the little local boutiques uptown. Like, I usually stick to very basic pieces that I can dress up or dress down. So like, I like to do rompers, I like jeans, I like t-shirts, sneakers, cute little sandals. Maybe I'll take a pair of heels. It really depends where I'm going, but if I do take heels, I usually only take one pair because you hardly end up wearing them anyways, but I like to also stick with basic pieces that I can dress up and dress down with accessories and with nice makeup. Do I get nervous on long flights? Actually, no. I have a little trick for making sure that I completely pass out during flights. What I usually do is I stay up the entire night before, last minute packing as usual, making sure that I have everything, and so by the time I get on the plane I'm completely exhausted and I just literally pass out until we get to our destination. And if I'm awake, it's only usually for a few hours and then we get to where we need to go. So that's my little trick for not even being nervous on flights, because I'm not awake. Then she says, how much time in advance do you go to the airport? You want to make, for international flights, you want to make sure that you're at the airport like 2 to 3 hours before your flight. For sure, trust me on this. Just try to get there the sooner the better, because especially for international flights, like there's just so much that you have to do. You never know how long the lines are gonna be, so you just want to make sure that you're there with more than enough time to spare, especially if you're checking in your luggage. How much money do you take on a trip to spend? It really depends. Always better to have more than enough than to be broke. So usually try to take like $200 to $300 in cash, and what I like to do is also change the currency before I leave, so I already have the currency from the country, or I check online to see what the rates are, to see it may be cheaper for me to change the currency while I'm already there. So that's something that I like to do, and then I like to make sure that I have the funds readily available on my debit card or even a credit card, because I don't like to carry large amounts of cash with me. Okay, and her last question is, how long before you get homesick? I think about I don't know, because I worked on a cruise ship for 6 months, so I think if I could survive that, I really could survive anything. But I'll say it's about 2 weeks before I get homesick, before you're like, okay, this is fun, but I kind of miss my bed, I kind of miss this. Like, I remember when I got back home from Europe, like the last 2 places that we had gone to was like Istanbul and Morocco, and at that point I was really craving my rice, beans, plátano, and I swear as soon as I came back from Europe, the next day I had like mango with salami and fried cheese for breakfast, because I was just missing it so much. We have Isabel. Hey girl, from Snapchat. Isabel says that she wants to give herself as a graduation gift a trip overseas, but she can't narrow it down to where she wants to go. She wants to do it all: Thailand, Greece, and Italy. What do you recommend? How should I decide? How soon should I book? Should I do a tour? What's the best approach to planning a trip overseas? I never done it and I want to get the most out of it. Too many questions. Just dedicate a whole YouTube to my questions. No girl, I think between you and Vigi, you guys tied it. One tip that I can give you when you're planning your trip overseas is that the most expensive ticket that you will pay for is the one to get to that other side of the world. Once you're already there, the tickets to other countries are super inexpensive. So if you can fit in more than one country in a trip, I highly recommend it. So if you want to go to Thailand, girl, go to Thailand. If you want to go to Greece and Italy, go to Greece and Italy, because they're literally right there. When we went to Europe, I think our flight from Italy to Greece was like less than $200 for sure. It was like maybe $125 or something like that, like for you know, a one-way ticket from Italy to Greece. So do your research, look up the one-way tickets, see how much it is. Do your research and you plan accordingly. It really shouldn't be that expensive. I personally love doing multiple destination trips because I want to do as much as I can while I'm on that side of the world. So I would probably recommend to check how much the flights are from here to Thailand, and then Thailand to Greece, Greece to Italy, and Italy back to New York. Do your research and see how much it will be to go to the furthest place first, which will be Thailand, you know, first, or go to Italy first, which is a little bit closer, and see which one is more convenient for you. As far as booking and kind of like the best approach to plan a trip overseas, you want to start planning it as soon as possible. So it really depends on your budget and the time that you can get off to take this trip. So when is it that you're looking to go? Are you looking to go right after you graduate, maybe the summer after your graduation? Are you giving yourself enough time to save up the money to pay for this trip? Are you giving yourself enough time to save up the money to spend on this trip while you're there? So you want to keep those things in mind. Like for me, I knew that I wanted to take this trip when I graduated, so I started planning in the fall of 2013 so that I can go in the summer of 2014, and that was more than enough time for me to save up money to go on this trip. I definitely use my tax returns you know, as money to pay for some of the things. So keep those things in mind. Like, how can you maximize your savings so that you can really get the most out of this trip? really helpful gypsy travel tip that I can give you guys is, I know it's hard to kind of plan these trips because you want to have at least an estimate of how much you think you're going to spend. So what I did is I actually contacted a travel company. I went to a travel company, I think it's called STA Travel. They have a few offices in New York, and I went into the offices and I kind of told them that I wanted to take this Euro trip, and I mentioned the destinations that I wanted to go. I sat down with the travel agent and she gave me different options on the trip, and she even told me how much money I would need probably for daily spending. So she was able to give me a rough estimate on how much my entire trip was going to cost me, and I think she told me around $5,000. So what I did is I took all the information she gave me and then I did my own research, and I looked up the flights, I looked up the hotels, I added how much money I would spend daily. So in my head I already knew that I would be spending around $5,000. So if I can get it for less than that, then I'd be winning. So in total, my entire trip to Europe, with the flights, the hotels, and the actual money that I spent while I was there, came out to roughly around $4,500. So it was definitely less than what she had quoted me, because like I said, I think she quoted me, I know for sure it was in the 5,000s. I don't know if it was closer to the 6 or closer to the 5, but it was definitely in the 5,000 range. So I was able to, you know, take care of that all on my own. I know there's some travel companies that you can pay in installments. If that works for you, then definitely do something like that. As far as tours, I don't know, I feel like tours are kind of expensive. It really depends on exactly what it is that you want to do. I just think like the beauty of it all is that we have things like Google. I think the most important thing when you're booking a trip is just really do your research. Like, look at the tours, look to see how much the tours are, read the tour reviews, go on blogs and see if there's any reviews on tours, or wherever you want to go, see if you can just do it on your own instead of having to do a tour, and how much that's going to cost you, and what are the pros and cons about doing it on your own versus doing it on a tour. Just do your research. I've personally never done any travel with a tour before. Everything that I've done kind of has been on my own, and I've had no problem. I think it really comes down to just doing your research, preparing yourself, and saving up for this trip. BSwag05 says, what are some websites that you can recommend to purchase inexpensive international tickets? I definitely recommend, where you're looking for tickets, to check out like Priceline, Kayak, and Orbitz to give you a rough estimate about how much those tickets are going to cost you on multiple websites. But the number one website that I recommend for booking cheap flights is definitely skyscanner.com. Skyscanner is a website that basically lets you look for cheap flights, and there's a couple cool features on it. So the first cool feature is that you can put in your home airport. So for me, it would be JFK or LaGuardia, and that's my home airport, and it can show me what are the cheapest flights in order from least expensive to most expensive out of these airports. So let's say if you're feeling kind of adventurous and you don't really have an idea of where you want to go, but you know that you want to book a trip and you know you want it to be inexpensive, then you go on Skyscanner, you put in your home airport, and it's going to show you the cheapest flight out of your home airport. And you never know, maybe it might be to Iceland, maybe it might be to Argentina, maybe it might be, who cares where it might be. But if you're up for the challenge, if you're up for feeling adventurous, I definitely recommend that you check what are the cheapest flights from your home airport. Maybe it'll just give you a new travel destination that you never would have thought about otherwise, but now you're kind of interested in going because it's actually a place that you can go and it's very affordable. Another cool feature about Skyscanner is, let's say you know exactly where you want to go. You enter that into the destination, and then when you go to enter the travel dates, what you can do is cheapest months, and it actually shows you the cheapest months to go to this travel destination. So you can see what is going to be most convenient for you and your budget, and when is the best time for you to go to these places according to what you can actually afford. So this is a great site. I'm so mad that I discovered it after I booked a lot of my travels, because oh my god, it's just genius. It's genius. I also recommend to go on Twitter and follow a lot of these travel accounts. A lot of times there's a lot of glitches in the system. Like, for example, airline companies will have glitches in their system where the fares are reduced, and you'll see on Twitter people are going crazy posting, oh my god, there's been a glitch in this airfare and it's only $200 to go from New York City to Dubai. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a time where like a bunch of people were going to Dubai out of nowhere, and it's like, why is everybody going to Dubai? Because there was a glitch in the system in one of the airlines, and basically when you would try to book a trip from like New York to Dubai, the tickets were only $200, but it was only for a specific amount of time and for a specific travel date. So a lot of people took advantage and just booked the trip anyway, and then just kind of figured out the rest later. Okay, so Stephanie wants to know, how do I fly with foundation? Do I transfer it to a plastic container? Time when I'm flying internationally, I'm not just taking a carry-on, I'm actually taking luggage. So I either put it in there, or I make sure that whatever foundation I'm taking is not glass. For example, this L'Oreal foundation would be perfect to take on an international trip because it is in a plastic tube and it's less than 3 ounces anyway. So if I were to put this in my carry-on, they wouldn't take it away because it's less than 3 ounces. And down to the last couple questions. These are from Instagram. This is from Francina Peña. She says, do you get travel insurance every time you fly out? I have never purchased travel insurance when I've gone on international trips. Luckily, knock on wood, I've never gotten hurt or injured when I've been traveling. I know a lot of people are very cautious about this and they do purchase travel insurance. I do read a lot of travel blogs, so I'm kind of aware of it. I think travel insurance is something that I would probably purchase if I was doing a long-term trip, but for my shorter trips I don't really think it's necessary. But you never know. I've read stories of people like, oh, thank God I had my travel insurance because it saved me from XYZ, whereas some people are like, it was such a waste of money. So I think when it comes to travel insurance, just do your research. I'll leave a link below to a really good travel blog that I love that just has great tips and covers a great deal on travel insurance and the cons and the pros, so check it out. And for the last and final question, this is from True Glory. She says, what is your regimen for your hair before swimming in the water at the beach as well as after you finish swimming? Okay, so when I was working on the cruise ship, I was going to the beach like every other day. The regimen that I had for the beach is, before I would get in the water, I would actually put a deep conditioner or a conditioner in my hair. I would make sure that I would saturate my hair with a deep conditioner, just because that would help with my hair not getting tangled, number one, and it would also help keeping my hair moisturized. You know, when you get into the beach, the water's salty, it kind of sucks out the moisture from your hair. So putting some type of deep conditioner in your hair or a conditioner in your hair will really help when you're at the beach. After I finish swimming, what I would do is obviously wash my hair with shampoo and conditioner, do a deep conditioner treatment for sure for 10 to 15 minutes to make sure that my hair is getting that moisture, and then proceed to style my hair in a wash and go. If I knew that I was going to be headed to the beach the next day, then what I would do is I would just take the deep conditioner and I would actually just leave it in my hair and put my hair up in a bun, and then when I would go to the beach the next day, I wouldn't have to put any conditioner in my hair because I already had it from the day before, and that was just kind of like my cycle. Oh my god, this video was so long. If you guys watch it to the end, you're the real MVP. Make sure that you leave a comment below if you watch it to the end, because thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope that I answered most of your travel questions on here. If you guys have any more questions, leave them below and maybe I'll do a part 2. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss out on my videos. And if you want to see more travel pictures, read more travel posts, make sure that you stop by GypsyintheCity.com because I have lots and lots of travel content on there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye. Oh my god, I think we're done. Oh my god, that was like the longest video ever. That video is going to be like 45 minutes.